When Syracuse men's lacrosse last beat Notre Dame in South Bend, everyone was playing with fidget spinners, Ed Sheeran's Shape of You was #1 on the charts, and NBC's Noah Eagle was a sophomore here. The #5 Orange had a chance to break the 9-year drought of top-ranked Orange Irish today, but simply ran out of gas in a 16-11 loss. SU scored just 3 second-half goals and were overwhelmed on defense as Notre Dame fired a conference-high 34 shots on net. So what went wrong for the Cuse? We'll break down the highlights, stats, and storylines to help you answer that question. The final Orange Press Pass of the semester starts right now. It's been a long season for Syracuse men's lacrosse. Today, in the regular season finale, it falls to #1 Notre Dame, 16-11. Alongside Nathaniel Cunningham and Gabe Perrin, I'm Jish Sokolsky. Fellas, it's been a long season. Syracuse finishes 11-4 in the regular season. Nathaniel, what are your first thoughts on today's regular season finale?
It's simple. It's okay. It's okay that you didn't win this one, Gabe. And listen, I get it. You always want to win. You always want to prove that you have what it takes to step it up come postseason play. But Syracuse has essentially locked up their NCAA tournament berth. They're going to play in the ACC tournament, where in college lacrosse, it's tough to beat the same opponent twice. It's okay that you didn't win this one. You just now have a lot of pressure on yourself moving forward.
Well, for me, you have to clean it up. We saw 60 minutes of just generally sloppy play today from Syracuse, and that is not going to fly in either the ACC tournament or the NCAA tournament. If they want to go far in either of those postseason opportunities, you got to clean it up.
Well, before we talk about tournament play, which we will do, let's break down how this regular season finale went down, how Syracuse lost this one. It started off as a game that Syracuse kind of had to win to build that momentum, had won 2 in a row, and now gets to face the #1 team to show what they're made of. And right away, it was Joey Spallina netting one to the side of the net. Remember last week, he set the program record for most career points. That was his 314th point. And then in the first quarter later, Chuck Kaczynski snipes one from the restraining line, 2-2. The Orange and Irish would continue to go back and forth. Look at this wraparound finishing low. It really was anybody's contest in that first period. But in the second quarter, that's when the Orange started to fly away. Finn Thompson, after a pretty feed, it really seemed at this point, Nathaniel, that Syracuse offense was finding its rhythm.
And this is really where Syracuse starts to dominate, is in that second quarter. They've been so successful, large in part to the program's leading point scorer, Joey Spallina, had his 5th hat trick of the year.
That was a hat trick in the first half, but before we're done, Josh Yago goes perpendicular for the goal to make it 7-7. Syracuse would still have the edge at halftime, 8-7. Spallina, a hat trick. Peyton Anderson, the sophomore, also a hat trick. Things were looking good, but right out of the gate, less than 30 seconds into the second half, that's a goal from Wilma Harris, his first goal since April 4th versus Richmond, and the floodgates opened up from there, Gabe.
And just a flaming hot start to the second half for the Irish, and that's when it all started to really go downhill for Syracuse.
It's a game of runs. It's about how you respond. Syracuse went on a 3-0 run in the end of the third to the start of the fourth. Look at the little guy, Wyatt Hoddle, finishing low to make it just a 1-goal game. Syracuse might come back, but it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going. Look at that goal. Pretty assist. Brock Behrman finds the back of the net, and Notre Dame would go to score on 3 unanswered. How about Luke Miller? His 3rd of a hat trick, finishing to the near side. Jimmy McCool just could not get his stick on that. And for good measure, or should I say, bad measure, there's a fight going on after this. Joey Spallina getting into a shoving match with Max Busenkill. It doesn't matter. Notre Dame has earned the right to talk trash after beating Syracuse 16-11 and winning the ACC regular season. What a game from the Irish.
And the Fighting Irish held Syracuse scoreless in the last 13 minutes of the game. It wasn't just that this Notre Dame offense found success in that second half, made those adjustments. They also went out there and stood on business, being one of the best defensive teams in the country.
And that second half offensively for Syracuse, it was that rough. Just 3 goals in the final 2 quarters. But I got to shout out Peyton Anderson there. 4 goals on 7 shots. But then you take the turnovers into factor, and just a rough one.
Now, there's only so much analysis we can do here from the comfort of our CitrusTV studio, so why don't we take it to some boots on the ground out in South Bend. We sent a reporter out there. It's Jake Klein. Jake, looking good today. I gotta ask, there was a lot of things that went wrong for Syracuse. What did Gary Gate define as the biggest reason why Syracuse lost today's game?
Well, Jish, I think the biggest reason, according to Gary Gate, is kind of a broad reason, and that's the fact that Syracuse didn't have many possessions in this game. Of course, face-offs are a factor in the possession battle, but this was a whole lot more than that. Not only did Syracuse not perform great at the face-off stripe with John Mullen and Drew Angelo, but when Syracuse did win possessions at the face-off, they turned the ball over a ton, which again is a credit to the Notre Dame defense, which has been so great, but even on the face-offs, after the face-offs, Notre Dame had way more possessions, way more shots on goal, and dominated this game as a result.
Well, Jake, there were 9 different goal scorers for this Notre Dame team. When you look at what this offense was able to do, put up 16 goals, I mean, just how dynamic was Notre Dame's offense?
Yeah, Nate, I agree that the Notre Dame offense was dynamic. How dynamic? I don't know. I mean, they've got great players. Josh Yago, the transfer from Air Force, is certainly a fantastic player. Teddy Lally, the freshman, played great for them. Matt Jeffrey, who was a former #1 overall recruit, is really good. I don't know that this offense necessarily does anything that's crazy or special or makes them unique. They just have a lot of really good players. It's a team that's been floated by its defense most of the year. I think Syracuse played all right defensively for most of the game today and then kind of fell apart late.
Jake, hope you're enjoying the greatest state in all the land out there, great state of Indiana. We saw Notre Dame's defense really lock in the second half. What did they do so well in that second half to just stop the Syracuse offense almost entirely?
Gabe, I asked Sean Light, Notre Dame's Tewaaraton nominee defenseman, about that exact thing after the game, and he said the adjustment they made at halftime was that they decided that Syracuse wanted to try to get them into slides and take advantage of on-ball matchups, which normally is something that Notre Dame is generally kind of okay with letting happen in the way it plays a kind of packed-in defense. In the second half, Kevin Corrigan made a switch defensively. He said his team went a lot slower to slide, and for Gary Gate on the Syracuse side, he said he felt that made a big difference in the second half and is probably the biggest reason why Notre Dame pulled away in the second half and Syracuse couldn't score a lot. So it was a Kevin Corrigan halftime adjustment that kind of flipped the switch for the Notre Dame defense.
Jake, thank you so much. Safe travels coming home. Good to see you today. Really great analysis as well. Kevin Corrigan, halftime adjustments on the defense. What would you like to see from Gary Gate's halftime adjustments to maybe counter that? What could Gary Gate have even done to beat out the adjustments that Corrigan made?
Well, I think Gary Gate relies so much on his coordinators to be able to step up and have that immediate impact, make those maybe necessary changes that Syracuse needs. So maybe to have more instantaneous ones or call a timeout. There's nothing wrong with kind of stopping play and making your team kind of reset middle of the game.
Well, guys, you heard Jake talk there about the slides. That's something I noticed early on in the second half with Notre Dame's defense. They were sliding, getting in position a lot closer to the goal, and Gary Gate and that entire offense had nothing to throw against that.
Well, if Gary Gate could have made those adjustments, maybe Syracuse would have won today. Instead, it lost 16-11 to #1 Notre Dame. Don't worry, though. We've got plenty more analysis. Orange Press Pass will return after a quick break. We're going to talk about Syracuse versus the top opponents in the land. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Orange Press Pass with Nathaniel Cunningham and Gabe Perrin. I'm Jish Sokolsky. Syracuse men's lacrosse, the 5th team in the land, lost to the top-ranked Irish of Notre Dame, 16-11. And for most other teams, that would kind of feel like a deflating loss for the Orange. But because it's #1 Notre Dame, maybe there's a little bit of a silver lining there. Syracuse has played a ton of the top teams in the nation, and this year it's been a mixed bag versus the top 3 opponents. What have you noticed between some of these top flight games, Nathaniel?
Well, it's been a little weird because this is both a team in Syracuse and a team in Notre Dame that have so much skill. And when you get to the top of lacrosse, you see that. So much skill. We've seen what all of these teams at the top level can do. But Syracuse just doesn't make those adjustments like we talked about. There needs to be these changes that happen because when you take a look last year into the NCAA tournament, you saw a team like Cornell that was making changes constantly through the game. What was the result? Cornell comes out on top of that. So Syracuse needs to learn to not just stick and live and die by the game plan coming in, but being okay with making second, third, fourth quarter adjustments.
And Nathaniel, I don't really know how to feel coming off of some of these big games because I would like to say I'm generally impressed by what Syracuse has done this season against those top-tier teams, some of the top teams in the country. I mean, North Carolina was rough, but you look at Maryland, they were really resilient in that game, and I thought they were somewhat resilient today as well against Notre Dame. You saw Syracuse get it within a goal in the fourth quarter, and then Notre Dame just blew it open. So my takeaway is that it's kind of like a half thumbs up, I would say.
And you have to understand, Syracuse was the #1 team in the country at one point this year, didn't step up and live up to that. They lost that ranking the very next week.
The big thing I'm noticing here among these 3 games that Syracuse hasn't scored more than 11 goals against these top-ranked teams. Sometimes when they face these top-ranked defenses, the offense tends to shut down a little bit. Rinse and repeat today. Only 3 second-half goals against Notre Dame. We've talked about it, but Gabe, what was the big thing that Notre Dame was doing on defense to really stifle the Orange in that second half?
Well, in the first half, Jish, we were all a little confused about what was going on with the Notre Dame defense. Richard Daly just didn't make any saves, but then that all changed in the second half. Everything got about 100% tighter. The slides were better. Coach Corrigan talked about that. Jake just told us. And everything was overall cleaner on the defensive end. And Syracuse didn't seem to have any kind of answer. You see play after play after play where guys from Notre Dame are just getting in the way of shots and not even allowing shots to come off of Syracuse sticks.
It was also just the physicality there. Notre Dame really wasn't having a bunch of that in the first half. They were kind of allowing Syracuse to do whatever they want. Coming out of the locker room, I said in the first half, the long poles for Syracuse doing a fantastic job against Notre Dame. In the second half, it was all the Fighting Irish that were just pushing back on everything Syracuse wanted. Joey Spallina couldn't work through X. He couldn't work on those dodges that he loves. And when the ball was getting zipped, you had a guy like Peyton Anderson who had 4 goals. He wasn't able to get those angles. And let's not talk about the fact that Michael Leo had just 2 assists, no goals today. Finn Thompson as well, only 2 assists. Not a lot of help from the other pieces. Notre Dame's defense just shut them down the entire game and really in that second half.
I'm looking at those ground balls there, Nate. 22 in the second half. The ball was loose a lot. Syracuse didn't have the best passing. The ball was errant on the turf a lot. And it was Notre Dame that was scooping it up. And that's exactly why I believe Gary Gates said that Notre Dame winning more possessions was a key to it. But it takes 2 to tango, guys. It's not just the defense playing well for Notre Dame, but you guys were kind of alluding to it. The Syracuse offense was not firing on all cylinders, especially in that second half. Michael Leo, Finn Thompson weren't really there. What went wrong in the second half for the Orange offense, Nathaniel?
Well, it's almost like the game of basketball, and you're going to have to stick with me here a little bit. But when you're playing basketball, you want to get those paint touches. You want to get as close to the rim as possible because what that's going to do, it's going to open up shots on the outside. Syracuse men's lacrosse could not get to the middle of the field. If you were to draw a line straight up the middle, they just could not find that central area. And that's why they weren't able to score in this second half. They're trying too much to get those outside shots, fire shots from goal line extended on either side, maybe even up in towards that attacking third line. They're not getting to that central posted area, which is where 95% of your goals are going to come from. They needed to get that point right in front of the crease. That's where your goals are going to originate from. And once those are done, then you can get shots on the outside.
And it's not just actually scoring the goals, it's just giving yourself a chance to score those goals. And how do you do that? You take shots. And in this game, you just did not see that from Syracuse. The total number on the game, Notre Dame 52 shots, Syracuse just 35. That is inexcusable. My simple question, where were the shots today? They just weren't there.
I'll tell you where the shots were, Gabe. They were on the Notre Dame side. 34 shots on goal. You don't score 16 goals without yourself having a great offensive performance. And there was one Notre Dame player that stood out above the rest. Our player of the game on Orange Press Pass is Wilma Harris. Sure, he only scored the one goal, but it was at an important time, coming right out of the second half to equalize to make it 8-8. The big calling card for him, though, was playing a point guard, running off of screens, finding the open shooter, and getting it done. 4 assists on the day for Wilma Harris. That was a big reason why Notre Dame had 4 players score multiple goals. You need a good point guard, a good facilitator to have everybody eat, and that's exactly what Wilma Harris was doing all day. Congratulations, my friend. You are the Orange Press Pass player of the game. All right, when we come back, it's time for the tournament. My analysts will break down their predictions for the upcoming ACC tournament. That's going to be exciting stuff. It all comes next on Orange Press Pass.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's us again on Orange Press Pass. Nathaniel Cunningham, Gabe Perrin. I'm Jish Sokolsky. Notre Dame takes down Syracuse men's lacrosse 16-11. Now, guys, it's time for the best 4 letters in sports, ACCT. ACC tournament bracket is set, and I'm going to have my analysts, Gabe and Nate, take their pick for what's going to happen in this exciting postseason. All right, Nate, we'll start with you. What do you think is going to happen in this ACC tournament?
Well, it's first important to note that in the ACC tournament, the winner of it, they don't get an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. But that doesn't mean that these 4 teams won't be playing for a national championship. When you look at the bracket and the way that this is facilitated, you've got this clear matchup. You got Notre Dame versus UVA. That one, to me, that's easy money. Notre Dame is going to pick that up. They're the top team in the country. Down here, though, you see Syracuse and North Carolina. The Orange lost to North Carolina earlier this year. How are they going to do it again? Well, I talked about it earlier in the show. Beating a team twice in the same season, especially in college lacrosse, very difficult. You have that tape. UNC, I think, is going to get a little complacent, which means we've got an ACC championship between Syracuse and Notre Dame, a rematch of what we saw today, and the outcome, well, I think this one is going to be a little different. Give me Syracuse to come out, take the ACC tournament title, and prove that, hey, they are truly back. They truly have a chance at making it deep into this NCAA tournament. And I think what's important about that as well is Syracuse is a 10-time national champion. This is a team in a program that before the 2022 class got here, they were trying to get back to being that team in the country. They have officially done that now with the way that this team looks, and I think if they get it done against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament finals, which I think they will, they prove that once again. Syracuse officially back.
Wow. I'm a little shocked there. I kind of want you to explain what's going on. Like, I don't.
The Syracuse
So hold on. I disagree with this, but I'm not worried about that. I just don't see how this happens.
After what we just saw today.
After that.
Again, you
After
go
all
back,
that,
but you go back home, you reload, you learn a little bit more, you watch the film, and then once you do that, that's what's going to really set you up for success.
Okay, whatever you say.
I don't know. I might be a little bit with Gabe. I mean, North Carolina really good at the faceoff X. That's Syracuse's kryptonite this year. But Gabe, let's see if you can fare any better. What is your prediction for what's going to happen in the ACC tournament?
So I am a lot less hopeful here for the Orange. So I've actually got Syracuse losing in the first round of North Carolina because I know it's not easy to win 2 games against the same team in a row in college lacrosse, but North Carolina is a very solid team, and they beat Syracuse by a pretty hearty 5 earlier in the season. And then, I mean, after what you saw from Notre Dame today, I know UNC, really solid team, had some really great games, but North Carolina lost by 5 to Notre Dame earlier in the season. And after that second half performance, trying to come back from a rough first half today against Syracuse, Notre Dame is really set up for this postseason. Not just the ACC tournament, but the NCAA tournament as well.
When you see the way that Notre Dame played, though, the one thing that comes to mind, complacency, Gabe. You cannot be complacent. If this is a Notre Dame team that thinks it's just a cakewalk into the ACC finals and the NCAA tournament, they need to think again.
See, you say complacency, I say consistency. Because Notre Dame hasn't played 2 bad halves in a row all season, and we saw that today. A really rough first half, not so much offensively, but defensively for Notre Dame, especially at the goalie position, and that was just not the case here in the second half. Absolutely dominating Syracuse in today's second half and getting the win. So now it's time for one of our favorite segments here on OPP. Here's Jish.
And it's time for the moment of the game. It's really weird to hear lifelong Orange fan Gabe Perrin be a pessimist, while lifelong Syracuse hater Nate Cunningham is the optimist here. But I guess hell has gone cold. This is the last Orange Press Pass. We're throwing everything out the window. Let's break down our moment of the game before we get any further ahead of ourselves in this ACC tournament. Syracuse was going on a run in the fourth quarter, 3 unanswered goals, but then Notre Dame responds with this ripper to the bottom right corner. Let's take another look at that. Notre Dame did a great job working off the pick and roll here. It looks like Wilma Harris is smothered by Jordan Beck. Look at my friend standing tall there. Finds the cutter there and the goal. Beautiful. Notre Dame would score 3 more goals to win it 16-11. That was the moment in which Notre Dame really snatched the Orange's chain. There was no coming back from that, and Notre Dame goes on to take it, including the ACC regular season title. That's what they got last year, and then in the first round of the ACC tournament, they lost to Syracuse. So still a lot of season left to play. If you're an Orange fan, breathe. There's still the tournament left to play, but that is how the regular season ends. Syracuse finishes 11-4. Notre Dame is the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. Syracuse will be the 3 seed. That'll be a fun one down in Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, we have our final block of the show coming up. We're going to be looking around the ACC, and my analysts are going to sound off. Orange Press Pass rolls on after this.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Wrapping up shop on the final Orange Press Pass of the semester with my friends Gabe Perrin and Nathaniel Cunningham. I'm Jish Sokolsky. Syracuse fell to Notre Dame 16-11 today, but that wasn't the only game happening around the ACC. It's time to shape out the bracket. Let's take a look at the two games going on. Virginia obviously putting belt to Drexel, but this is a shocking Duke result at North Carolina. Nate, you might feel a little vindicated after what you said about how Notre Dame was going to perform in the ACC tournament, seeing this.
Well, I mean, you say it's a shocking result. Let's not act like Duke is a bad lacrosse team. They are the 16th ranked team in the land. They just haven't had that success in conference play. But I think that result there is exactly why I think you're going to see some parity in the ACC tournament.
Yeah, I feel like Duke was really flying under the radar the entire season, but now that's finally coming to fruition a little bit. North Carolina, I know it's a tough loss, and they were down by, I think, 7 or 8 earlier in the game in the third quarter. But I still think they're a really solid team. I think they will make it to the ACC championship, of course, losing to Notre Dame there. And I think they have a good future in the NCAA tournament as well.
We're still talking all about Syracuse and Notre Dame, but we have our final sounds of the season. I'm going to hand it over to my analysts, Nathaniel Cunningham and Gabe Perrin, to give one final sound of the season to go into the summer. Nathaniel, let's get this thing crack-a-lackin'.
Well, Jish, I think in a segment meant to get on a team at times, it's easy to go a little too far, and I'm certainly known for going a little too far. But at the end of the day, the way Syracuse ended this game was unacceptable. When the game is ending and you're down 3 or more goals, I can understand frustration, but you need to remember who you are. Syracuse has more national championships than any other school in the nation. The legacy of Syracuse men's lacrosse transcends the actual product on the field. You're required to hold yourself to a standard higher than everyone else. And today, as well as other days, Syracuse hasn't done that. When this senior class got here, the Orange were coming off their first double-digit loss season in program history. So rewriting what this program looked like was not an option, but it was the only option. Yet that shouldn't ignore the legacy that Gary Gate, John Desko, and the Powell brothers, as well as every other Syracuse legend, set. If the return to a national championship is the goal, the mentality needs to follow, and Syracuse needs to remember who they are.
Now, I know we just spent a really long time talking about the ACC tournament, but I've got a tough pill for you to swallow. The ACC tournament, it's a bit of a sham. Syracuse is going to make the NCAA tournament anyways. And yes, Gary Gate and the rest of the squad should focus up and prepare for that big game against UNC in Charlotte. But if they come out with the loss, I don't know, who cares? If you're all but locked into the big dance already, that should be where the focus is. We've watched this team come up short in the NCAA tournament time and time again, year after year. So all focus has to be on what really matters, and that's winning an 11th national championship.
Gabe, I know you think it doesn't matter, but it is next. Syracuse plays North Carolina in round 1 of the ACC tournament. A rematch game versus North Carolina. That's going to be on Friday, May 1st. We don't know the time yet, but there will not be an orange press pass. This, of course, is the final orange press pass of the semester. And guys, this is our final orange press pass ever. And this is a show that has, really meant a lot to us.
That's a lot of me.
Nathaniel, you were an associate producer on this show. Hey, wow. Oh my God, when the No Pull podcast was in the studio. Gabe Perrin was an executive producer and associate producer on the show. I was a 5th producer on the show. Look at that. Gabe's beat the bookie. Listen, the 3 of us maybe haven't had the most time on camera here at CitrusTV, but this show has been so instrumental in our development. I love it so much. I'm so happy that we all get to share the desk one final time on Orange Press Pass. Wow, look at this.
And I know it's not her final show as well, but I need to give a massive shout out to our 3rd producer, Rihanna of Beal, who's sitting there behind the scenes.
Yep.
Absolutely vital to our success, but not just here in the sports department, also to the entirety of Citrus TV, the associate general manager and executive producer on this show. I mean, she really has done more than I think the 3 of us combined.
Yeah, I've been so thankful for my time here at Citrus. Mostly back there in the control room, which you just saw. Not too much on here. But these 2 guys right here, we've been through this whole Citrus journey, this whole college journey together. And I couldn't ask for a better pairing for my final show than these 2 guys.
I'm very thankful that I got to share the desk with you, both Gabe and Nate. It just feels like a full circle moment right now. Orange Press Pass, the show that really gave me my first shot, that really saw my potential early on. So cannot thank Orange Press Pass enough for all that it's done. A big thank you to our producers, Helaina, Chris, Luke, and of course, Sean. Wow, for one final time, I'm Jish Sokolsky with Nate and Gabe saying so long. Notre Dame beats Syracuse 16-11. Good night, guys.